Hello again, welcome back to my office. As usual, because it's becoming quite a custom now, before carrying on I must just apologise for the fact that this is quite late again. Sad fact is that writing the last book I had to rewrite the ending 5 or 6 times. I really wasn't expecting that. I think it's a number of things got in the way. One is that my son hasn't been very well. That's got in the way of things. And then there's been all the excitement about elections and Brexit and goodness knows what, which has got in the way of my brain as well. But I'm hoping that now things are going to get slightly more logical and sensible, and I'll be able to, with luck, be a little bit more accurate with my timing, and then make sure that my videos go out on time and all the other stuff. But first of all, you as Templars will want to have an idea about what I've been getting up to. Well, writing that book has been a lot of my time so far this year. Hopefully it'll be out later on this year, I think around June, July time. It's going to be Death Comes Hot, because I always loved the film Some Like It Hot, but this has got nothing to do with cross-dressing men or anything like that. This, sadly, it hasn't got Marilyn Monroe in it either, but it has got a number of interesting supporting cast members in the story. It starts off with poor old Jack being accosted by the executioner, because in those days, in the 1500s, 1550s, especially under Bloody Mary, she was quite keen on removing heretics, and heretics could be anybody who didn't basically agree with her view on Christianity. She took an extremely pious Catholic view when her father, of course, Henry VIII, had set up the English Church, the Church of England. So there were quite a lot of ructions, and she had an awful lot of people executed for no particular purpose. Now, the thing was, most people didn't want to execute people unpleasantly. So they wanted the show and the spectacle, but they actually didn't want people to suffer too much. So women, for example, who were accused of petty treason or some... I've got a dog who is currently headbutting me, and she's going to knock the camera over, so I've just moved. Come on. Up here, go to bed. Yes, so Bloody Mary killed off quite a few people, but women, for example, who were supposed to be burned to death would be allowed to stand on the pyre with their hands tied around a post. People would light the fire, but before the fire actually killed her, the executioner would have a cord tied round her neck, and he would pull that and throttle her, so she didn't die from the flames, she died of suffocation or strangling. That was considered to be a much kinder thing. In the same way, when men were put to the flames, all too often they wouldn't actually die from the fire itself, because the executioners would put pouches of black powder, gunpowder, hanging around their neck or hanging over their groin or under the armpits, with the idea being that it would blow a massive hole in them, and the loss of blood would kill them much faster than the flames would. So they're actually trying to be, according to their lights, moderately kind. So I've got the start of this book is Jack has sold a bit of Duff gunpowder to the executioner, and the executioner comes to ask for compensation for the damage done to his reputation, because the people he expected to die from gunpowder actually didn't. Interesting start point, I thought. So that's good. Anyway, that book is now put to bed. What else has been happening though? Well, I've been asked to do a number of talks. I had to go and give a talk last week to the Exeter Redcoats. Now, the Exeter Redcoats are the tour guides who are... I'm not sure who they work for actually, whether it's the council or whether they work for the cathedral. I think it must be the council. But they do organised tours all around Exeter, around the city walls, around all the medieval town, around the cathedral itself and all of the old parts of the town. It's really interesting if you get a chance to go to them. But they once a year will have a meeting where an author or someone is invited to come and have a chat to them. So I was doing that last week. Very interesting too. It was good fun. I've also been asked to go and do some more Smithsonian journeys. Now last year, some of you will know, I was asked to go and become an expert for Smithsonian because they had a resident expert who went off sick. So at very short notice, 2 weeks notice, they suddenly realised that they had to get somebody else, and they asked me to fill in the gap. And it was ideal because it meant starting in Devon at Agatha Christie's old stomping ground in Torquay, talking about Agatha Christie, and then going from there over Dartmoor, where I could talk about the Hound of the Baskervilles and other Dartmoor-based stories. I took them to a medieval village, the ruins of, at Houndtor, which everybody liked. We went on to the Cotswolds via Tintern Abbey, so people could see that, which was always good fun. And the idea was that I would be with them as a resident expert on crime writers and crime writing, going from Torquay to the Cotswolds to Oxford to London. So I could talk about Dorothy L. Sayers, Colin Dexter, Dick Francis and Felix Francis, my friend Bernard Knight and Susanna Gregory and Karen Maitland and Becky Tope and Peter Lovesey, all these different people, and talk about how they write, why they write, and various other aspects. So that was great fun. And apparently it went down so well that Smithsonian Journeys have asked me to do 2 more tours this year. Not until October, but that'll be great fun. I'm looking forward to that. It's really nice to be allowed to get out of my desk. Away from my desk, out of my office, because this place does get a bit claustrophobic. Go to bed. That is what happens when the dog gets bored. She's now sitting under my desk and trying to apologise for kicking the camera stand. Never mind. So what else have I been up to? I've had a rather silly idea, which is that I think it'd be rather nice if some of the local schools had a bit more motivation to get writing and be creative. So often nowadays, school kids are taught just to learn how to pass exams, and they don't get too much opportunity to explore writing and try to enjoy it. So I've had some discussions with the local library and the local bookshop, and I've suggested that we work together to invite the kids from the local school from age about 12 to 16 and offer them a chance of writing 1,000 to 1,500 words, either a short story or the beginning of a novel. Now I'm not too sure how many are likely to respond to this. We're talking about 4-year groups, but youngsters nowadays aren't necessarily very keen on the idea of writing. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I'm going to ask for the entries to come in. I'll read them all. I'll pick a winner. If you want to argue with me, that's fine, but I'm picking the winner. And we'll see how it goes. Having the support of the library service will be very important. And if it goes well enough, then I'll hope to be able to get all the libraries in the area involved. Just putting the dog back under the desk so she stops irritating. Sit down. No. Stay there. And apart from that, in other news, I'm starting a short story that's going to be put into an anthology of short stories with a publisher called Sharp Books. I like Sharp Books because they publish Act of Vengeance, my modern day spy story, and also the 3 Vintner trilogy stories. There's also Canelo Books, who are publishing, at present, Pilgrim's War. They've taken that on, and that comes out at the back end of February. I think it's the 27th they're publishing that. That looks really good. They're doing an excellent job with that. They've also got the rights to the first 8 of the Templar series, and I'm hoping that they're going to be bringing them out in the space of the next 3 months. And then, provided all's going well, they may well take on all the rest of the Templar series, apart from the middle 15 that's owned by Headline. That's all good. I like that. As soon as I've finished this short story, as I say, it's part of a collection from Sharp Books, and it's written in conjunction with the Historical Writers Association, the HWA, that I helped set up some 10 years ago now, I think, with Manda Scott. It was only last year that they had their first collection come out, and that was based all around the Roman period. So they had some excellent writers there, like Ruth Downey and Peter Tonkin, all kinds of writers who have written books in the Roman period, and they each submitted a short story, and the collection, whose name escapes me currently, but the collection was really very, very good. I thoroughly enjoyed reading it. I got a review copy for cheap purposes. I'm a cheap person, but I like it. So that was fun, and as a result they've decided to do a medieval version this year. So I'm going to be doing something I think set around the 100 Years' War, mainly because Sharp Books are, as I said, publishing my Vintner trilogy, and so they'll see it as an opportunity to push that series. They're not silly people. You might as well use these opportunities for marketing, don't you? Don't you think? And that really is about where I am now. I've got to, at some point, revisit several old books. The Sniper, my book I wrote last year on Shanghai, needs to be reviewed and edited because my editor isn't happy with it yet. I've also got a fairly straightforward book, fairly simple crime story, basically about a private eye. I've got a second one that's a bit more convoluted. So I'm just deciding right now whether I need to get on with editing those and get them out of the way, and then write a new book, or whether I ought to write a new book first and then go to editing. Don't know yet. I'm going to make up my mind on that in the next couple of weeks. Write the short story first, then I can concentrate on them. And which will the new book be? I've got a hankering to write a police procedural set around this area. That's very appealing. But my publisher also wants me to write a follow-up to Pilgrim's War. And Sharp Books want me to write a follow-up to Act of Vengeance, a modern day book. So I am not too sure where I should be jumping right now. But whichever way I go, you'll probably hear about it first over here. So I've told you about the prize for writing, I've told you about Smithsonian journeys, my office work, the books, and that's really about it. I mean, the trouble is, being an author, it's quite difficult to know what to talk about because we have pretty boring lives. It's not as if I'm out doing things every other day. I'm lucky to get one event in per month. So I suppose it means I've got one thing to talk about per month, doesn't it? Anyway, I hope that was interesting. As I say, apologies for this being a little bit late. It wasn't supposed to be, but family illness and all of the other things really did just get in the way. Hopefully you'll understand. But I do intend to do another one of these fairly soon. So what I'm hoping to do is this will be up and edited for Sunday morning, which will be hopefully nice viewing for some people. And then next week I will do the next Scavengers video, so that'll be up Sunday week. In fact, a week today, because you're looking at this obviously on Sunday. Good point. So you'll see this now. Scavengers will have something else next week. At the same time as this goes live, there will be a video, a write-up for Pilgrims. That'll go live on the Sunday. And then in the week coming, I'll have a write-up on Vintners, which hopefully will have the basic outline of what I'm doing with characters, the plot I'm working on, and how I'm going to write it, because I'll be doing that all of next week. So hopefully that'll work. And apart from that, there's little more to be said. Thanks ever so much for watching. Thanks a lot for your patronage as usual. I apologise about the dog going potty halfway through, and I'll speak to you all soon. Take care. Cheers, and thanks again. Bye.